The weather outside is crap again, it's windy and rainy, which is annoying because it's actually daylight still. So I'm in here prepping more bits and pieces for paint. So that's the airbox, that's the bracket it sits on, and it's really crappy. Unlike the other bits I painted the other day, I'm going to do that in gloss enamel because you see it, and I want it to look nice and smooth on top, not like nasty brush strokes. And the same deal with the radiator top bracket, I want that looking nice because it sits right on the top of the engine bay. So if I brush painted that, it'll just look rubbish. So I'm going to prep it properly and then do them both with engine enamel black. And I'm also going to do anything else that I can find in my boxes of bits that need the same treatment. A jiffy later, we have nice clean bracket courtesy of angle grinder, wire wheel thing and blasting cabinet. Then I've also blasted the brass or copper, whatever it is, header tank, and the filler neck was actually dented in, so I've pulled that out. They're really quite crude stamped sort of shapes, so it doesn't need to be perfect. So what I've done is just rubbed it down, and I'll give it a good couple of coats of etch primer and then black. And then these are the other bits. There's one of these panels for the other side of the inner wing. This is where just beyond or behind the headlights. I've got two of them. I can't find the other one, so that one is the one I'm going to paint tonight. And then I might mix up a bit of epoxy just to do a couple of bits that I missed last time. Right, all of those have been thoroughly degreased, and I've tied bits of MIG wire onto them so I can hang them up to paint them. So I'm off to go find my etch primer because I know I've got it, but I can't find it at the moment, and then rig up some stuff to hang this on whilst it's drying, and then I'll come back and paint it. So these are the paints I was going to use. This one is etch primer, so you just dust it over and it eats into the surface and gives a nice key for whatever you put on top. But I don't have very much of it, in fact it's nearly empty. So this stuff is engine enamel, but if you read the can, you don't actually need a primer. And I've used it in the past on bare steel and it's worked fine. So I'm going to use the dregs of this to prep that brass thing because I don't know quite how paint's going to stick to it. And then I'll just use straight enamel black on the other stuff. So hopefully I'll have enough paint. So that's the header primed. I've given the other bits a first coat of black enamel. I've learnt from previous experience that you don't want to like build up too much of this on there. Any of these enamels, they just seem to run like anything if you give it a chance. So those are real thin dusted coats. So I'll let them go off for a bit and then I'll do some more. Most of these are finished now. It only took a couple of coats, but a nice shiny finish. No paint runs, which is nice. It's my battery clamp, again, it's pretty good. You can see some of the sand lines, but I'm not too bothered. Radiator top mount, this was the side I was worried about. There's some pitting rust, which I couldn't get rid of, but it wasn't worth filling it or anything. By the time it's got some road dirt, you won't see it anyway. That's the airbox mount. Again, looks nice, no paint runs. And that's the header tank, which I've just given another very light dusting as a key, like a surface coat. And then I'll give it a final top coat later, but it's looking really good. So now I'm going to mix up the Jotun 87, paint some of the bits that I missed the other day, and the back of the fans, which I couldn't get to without ruining the top side. Everyone likes a good before and after photo, don't they? So this fan, perfect original condition, just cleaned. That one, I haven't cleaned it yet, but it should look like that one, which is nice. So the back side I painted last time. Now I just need to paint the front side without painting the fans as well. Painted up the few bits that I've missed on those brackets. Painted the rad fans, all of those bits, and I'm particularly pleased with that tank because it looks really good. And that sits upper offside of the engine bay, so you'll see it as soon as you open the bonnet. So with a nice shiny new cap, that should look really good. So I'm happy. I'm going to go home. Well, I found another box of bits to paint. So these are the brackets that go around the header tank. That holds on the header tank as well. 2 brackets which hold the gas rams for the bonnet, and then this crazy thing which is to hold the washer bottle. So doing much as I did the other day, just cleaning them up, degreasing them, and then going to paint them with enamel. Stage 1 complete. Those bits are all done in black, which is good. I'm happy with that one because that's one of the top brackets that you'll see, and the paint finish is really nice. The other bit that I need to do is this washer bottle bracket. I've given it a lot of primer because there was some really rough sanding lines in it, and this you'll see the primer's there just to sort of fill in the grind marks and things. And then I've dusted a bit of black over the top just to make sure it doesn't react. It seems to be okay, so I'm going to put a bit more on there now, and then tomorrow, which is Saturday, I'll come in the morning and finish it off. I'm nearly out of enamel black, so I'll have to order some more. I'm really impressed with this stuff. It just goes on really nicely. As long as you're not too heavy and you shake it well, it works really good. Saturday morning, I'm back out here again. Probably not going to do much videoing today. It's all the same process as I've shown in other videos. Time consuming, boring prep for paint. So I'm just going to crack on and hopefully make some decent progress. Really cooking on gas now. A lot of the hard and aggravating prep is done. There's a couple of tiny bits that are going to need a smidge more filler. But I mean only a tiny bit. I've been prepping this side with Scotch-Brite because actually the paint's pretty good, doesn't really need any repairs. But I have found there's a slight distortion to that strut top, so I'm just using a piece of wood and a hammer, where it's actually an old picture frame, just to beat that back down before I do the final prep and paint. Hopefully that's the last filler I'm going to need to apply in and around the engine bay. So I'm going to make a cup of coffee while that goes off, then I'm going to come back, do the final sanding, and then mask up ready for paint. It is annoyingly windy today, so God knows how that's going to go, but I'm only doing the primer, so it should be alright. Okay, disclaimer again, I don't do bodywork, I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just, you know, having a go. The car has been masked very badly. I call it speed masking. It's using gaffer tape, thin plastic sheet, plastic bags and brown paper. These bits I wasn't sure how much of the roof to paint, so I've just gone minimal. It's going to look shite, but I don't really care, at least it'll be waterproof. So I'm going to get the thinners out, degrease it all, go over it again with Brillo pads and sandpaper, and then try and shoot some etch primer. Well, actually no, not even going to bother with the etch. I'm just going to use normal 2K primer from a rattle can and try and get it on the car and not just blowing around the car park, because it is very windy now, gusty, which is extremely annoying when you're trying to mask up and do basically anything, including bodywork outdoors. We have significant progress. In a lull in the wind, I just cracked open a can of the aerosol primer and just splattered it on there. I did go over it very quickly with a tack rag as well, which I'm told you're supposed to use. It didn't feel like a very nice thing to be putting on fresh paint. It felt like it was just full of, I don't know, glue or something, but anyway. It's nice to have it all one colour, but it does show up the defects. There's also a couple of bits where it looks like it's trying to react. I don't really know why, because as far as I'm aware, there's nothing that I put on there that should be causing a reaction. So I'm going to let that go off and then give it a thorough inspection, nip it off a bit, and then work out what to do next. Really, I need to go and get my air gun, have a look at that and see how it all works, and watch some more YouTube videos on how to paint shit. Right, this is the cheap gun set I bought off eBay. The reason I bought this is because it has a tiny diddy little gun, which I thought would be good for getting into all the nooks and crannies, rather than a big one like that. Also comes with a pressure regulator, and I've bought separately a little water trap. So everything I've read on the internet talks about take these apart and clean them with panel wipe or gun cleaner first, because they always come with some sort of delivery wax inside them, and you need this real clean if you don't want to screw up your paint job. So I'm going to strip it down, clean it, and then read the instructions and see how it works. I've run out of memory on my iPhone, so I've switched to the camcorder thing. I've been playing with the gun. I stripped it all down and wiped it all out with panel wipe and stuff. Then I put my air line with the water trap, air regulator and PTFE tape in the joins to make it seal nicely. Then I filled the hopper up with panel wipe and then blasted it through the gun. So I'm happy that's all nice and clean. I'm not actually intending to paint the car today, but I do want to understand a bit more about how the gun works, because you've got that knob there which adjusts how much air is going into the gun, and that's after you've already adjusted the air pressure here and on the compressor as well. So you've got three things to change the amount of air that flows through. Then this one controls the needle, which controls how much paint goes in, and then the one on the side can change whether you've got like a fan or a dot or the size of that, I think, and this is what I need to go and play with outside. And then that one you can adjust which way the fan comes out, so I'm hoping to use that so that I can get into the nooks and crannies effectively. And then I've got my blue paint and the hardener. What I'm going to do is just mix up a test batch, put it in there, and then go paint a piece of wood or something outside so I can get used to the gun and how to adjust it all up. Then what I'll do is I'll leave it adjusted so that next time I get some time on the car I can paint it, hopefully, fingers crossed. Touch plastic wood. Ta-da! That is our pre-mixed Eclipse blue paint. It might look a bit bodgy using this stick as a stirrer, but that's all I've got. I was expecting that to dramatically change colour and there to be white underneath, and I guess there is a bit, but it's a lot darker than the car looks, so maybe when it's painted on it'll change, I don't know. Hopefully the light grey coloured primer will help. So I'm going to stir that up, decant a bit into here, add some hardener, stir it again, put it in the gun, paint something. Okay, moment of truth. I haven't rehearsed this. I've literally just filled up the gun with paint, and now I'm going to pull the trigger and see what happens. Yeah, blue shit comes out. So I'm going to progressively go through, play with all the knobs and see what the effect is. So the first one I'm going to do is the actual regulator pressure. So I'm going to pull for more. So it's gone up to 30 psi. Okay, it's that way round. Certainly get a lot more paint come out straight away. That actually looks quite good. I'm going to put my breathing mask on and continue to play with the buttons. You probably won't be able to hear me talking, but hopefully me pointing at things and turning them will give you an idea. Big fuck off bee come to bother me now. Oh, you fucker. Don't know whether bees like the smell of paint, but that one seemed to. Right, I'm playing with knobs, but to be honest, I don't know what I'm doing. What's coming out actually seems to look quite good, so I'm going to try shooting some on the car and see what it looks like.
That is so satisfying. I'm a bit paranoid that either I haven't mixed the hardener right, or maybe it's too soon after the primer's been on there, so I'm not going to put loads on, because the worst comes to it, it could react really badly and I'd have to take it all off again anyway. So I'm going to practice on the underside and continue playing with the knobs until I'm reasonably happy that when I do the bits that you will see, like the turrets, I can get a halfway decent finish. This is seriously satisfying. I've no idea what it's going to look like when I'm finished, but I'm loving doing this. Right, so I have emptied a whole tub of paint so far, and it's actually covered quite a large area. What it does show is just how well top coat shows up imperfections in the paint. So that more than ever has made me realise that I can't just simply chuck the paint on and hope it looks alright. That scuttle and the rooftops and the A-pillar and these turrets are going to have to be really nicely prepped. I'm quite happy with the amount of paint I'm getting coming out of the gun. I think it's quite controllable. I haven't got any runs, and yet where I've tried to, I can get it to flow nicely so that you don't look all orange peely. So that's good. What I'm going to do now is just leave it and check that I've got the ratio of hardener to paint right, and that it's not going to react or crack back with the paint. I am prepared that this is going to crack and look shit and awful after a few weeks, so I might be putting all this hard work in only for it to look rubbish. I know that's happened to my mate Luke when he painted his motorbike, and my mate Jason, who did the engine bay on his SD1. I've never really understood the reasons why the paint does that, but yeah, it's quite a strong possibility that's what will happen with this as well. That went so much better than expected. Now, it isn't perfect, obviously, but there aren't any run marks. I've got good coverage and there hasn't been any reactions yet. What was really annoying was that the flow of the air out of the gun blew dried paint, particularly primer, off all of my plastic sheeting. So annoyingly that deposited itself all over my nice paint, which is a shame. I don't really know what I can do about that now, probably not a lot. So just have to suck it up and
yeah, wait for this to dry, and then I can play putting it all back together again. I was going to do another coat, but I'm slightly paranoid about it all reacting and cracking, so I'm going to quit while I'm ahead, or while I think I'm ahead, and just call it a day in terms of paint. I'm pretty pleased. It's blue, and that's really all I needed.
Right, after my realisation that I can't just throw blue paint on it and hope it'll be okay, I'm doing what I should do and rubbing it down again with this is 1200 grit. No idea, it's the thinnest or the weakest sort of grit that I've got, and I'm just going over the key parts to make sure that it's nice and smooth. So I'm just going to do that to the whole of the windscreen surrounds, leading edge of the windscreen and the turret tops. Not so worried about the front end or the battery trays because you won't see any of that. Right, I'm deeply conflicted about this. I hadn't anticipated trying to paint the car blue today because I didn't think I'd have enough time, and I assumed I'd have to do loads and loads of prep between coats and things. But having read on the internet, like all great sources, I'm not sure that's true. What I've been reading is you can rub down after primer, which is a good idea, and I've done that. But between coats of blue, you can just wait for it to tack off and then go again. So I'm just going to go for it. I've got a tiny bit more prep to do. There are areas I'm just going to accept are going to look shite, but I kind of just want this done now. I'm wasting so much time with this, and ultimately, you know, it's the engine bay and the scuttle. So, and that bit is all going to need to be repainted if the outside of the car gets painted. So I'm just going to go for it and see what happens.
got a new and slightly, well, annoying problem that I haven't really worked out a solution for it yet. It's going to rain tonight, and tomorrow the winds are going to get to 40 miles an hour. Now, they aren't great conditions for leaving a newly painted car outside. I've tried to balance the bonnet on without damaging the paint by putting that bucket in the scuttle, and I had brown paper across the front, but the paint's so soft it's just marking, so I don't really know what to do. If I leave the covers off and let it cure and air dry, it will rain on it and it probably will mark the paint. I can't put the bonnet on without also marking the paint, and even if I did put the bonnet on and prop it up, the covers are still going to flog in the wind and sit on the tops of the A-pillars and the scuttle. So all in all, not ideal. What I really need or want to do is to put it in there, but that's not going to work either because I'm here by myself and there's no way I'm going to be able to push it up that ramp. So pretty screwed. Bit of lateral thinking. I've gaffer taped rods across there. Going to slap the bonnet on. I might shrink wrap it as well, so because that's rusty and the drops crap all over it. So I'm going to shrink wrap that, or cling film stuff, balance it on there, and then I'm just going to have to suck it up and put the covers on. Hope it doesn't mark the paint. Alright, it's a bit of a weird thing to look at, but it's doing the job. So bonnet is shrink wrapped, balanced on sticks. The only bit that's gonna bother me is the A-pillars, but I can't think of a sensible way of keeping them nice, which is a shame because I was really chuffed with that. Yeah, never mind. At least it's waterproof, the windscreen can be fitted, and then if it needs to be done again, it can be painted again with the screen in. I'm going home.